Free audio post-production by ORtg.com.
So the number 14, it can mean a whole lot of different things to a whole lot of different people. For some of us, it invokes the images of our first kiss, or our first love, or the age we had that dreaded freshman year of high school. For racing fans, it's Tony Stewart, it's AJ Foyt. For the Reds fans that a lot of us are, it means that Ellie De La Cruz had a really, really good day at the ballpark. For a Mark Stoops offense, that is practically an explosion. But for Kentucky basketball, the number 14 was the tipping point. It was the disaster point. It's the number of turnovers that were guaranteed losses. I had a 0-4 record after 14 turnovers. 1 to Auburn, 2 to Florida, and then the one that ended the season against Iowa State in the NCAA tournament. But there's a number that tipped it in the other direction. The number 12. It was an 18-4 record at that. Which leads us to the core of our big conversation that we're going to be doing in this Mark Pope Moneyball series. It's the thought of using advanced analytics to put together a roster to create possessions. Like in Moneyball, in the Billy Bean instance, whenever baseball, he says they get on base. That's baseball's version of creating possessions. Basketball, possessions are currency. It is turnover insulation. And turnovers destroy possessions. So with that framework in mind of how we can take advantage of every scoring opportunity that we create more scoring opportunities for ourselves, prevent ourselves from turning the ball over and losing scoring opportunities, getting rebounds that end opponent scoring opportunities, there's definitely a Moneyball framework within advanced analytics that we can use to see why I think this is the blueprint for this and future Mark Pope rosters. Why I don't have inside information to say, hey, this is exactly how they constructed it, but we can look at 5 analytics numbers to really describe how I think this roster was constructed. Okay, and here's where we're going to get into the meat of it. The fun part for me, because I am an absolute analysis junkie, and I love the numbers, and I love digging into them and seeing what they all mean and everything. Don't worry, I'm not going to be like those ESPN talking heads who start spouting true shooting percentage and offensive rebounding percentage and all these fancy numbers at you without actually explaining them first. Because I want everybody to be able to understand this from like you're talking to some random guy on the front porch that actually just really likes big basketball concepts. But there's 5 of them I really think that we can look at that I think Mark Pope weighed a little more heavily than others whenever he was putting this specific roster together. The first one we're going to get into is true shooting percentage. And there's a really fancy formula that you're going to see on the screen. Cap is being really generous and throwing it out there for us. But I want to try to get it even simpler than that. Think of it this way. Lion Lee, he's got a used car lot. It's got 20 cars on it. He don't have a single car on that lot worth more than $2,000. He sells all of them. He's going to make a good amount of money. But cousin Carl down the street, he's got 8 cars on that lot. Those 8 cars are each worth at least $20,000. Now, at the end of the day, which one's worth more? So that's true shooting percentage kind of broke it down. Yeah, Lee took a lot more shots, but the ones that Carl had were a lot more valuable. That's as simple as we can get that one to be explained, really. So, Milan Momcilovic, he is the epitome of this stat. He finished 5th nationally last year. So we really don't need to dig into a whole lot further to see exactly why he's on this roster. But there's a lot of other guys, like Alex Wilkins, really high true shooting percentage. Trent Noah, really high true shooting percentage. These are guys that take valuable shots. They hit valuable shots. And when you're hitting valuable shots, you are absolutely making the most of those possessions. And Mark Pope wants to have more possessions. He wants to create more opportunities for shots. And he wants to put his guys into position to raise this true shooting percentage number. Like, he even told Milan that if he shoots the same 48% from three this season, that he did not take enough shots. Think about that. That's just the first aspect of this roster that we're going to talk about. The next one we're going to dig into is going to be offensive rating, the value you create per 100 possessions. An offensive rating is one of the simpler of all the analytics formulas. It's how many points were scored with player A on the floor divided by how many possessions that team had while that player was on the floor times 100. I know, it's another big math thing. Basically, to simplify it, it's about whose offense scores more because they're on the floor. They tend to be very efficient players. They don't need a lot of shots to make an impact on what's going on. They finish whenever they do take shots. Rim, mid-range, from three, from the free throw line, it all counts. This one, it's points regardless of how they're accomplished. One of the best things that they do is they create pressure on the defense. Either they're going to get the assist, they're going to get the finish, or their team's going to get to finish because of something they did on the floor. And these lineups tend to play, they win because they maximize possessions, which is really what this whole Moneyball concept is boiling back down to, is taking advantage of limited possessions, being efficient, and winning those possessions. It's not about who takes the most shots. It's about getting the most out of them. And honestly, Malachi Moreno tends to be the patron saint of this at Kentucky right now. That's why we were so excited for him to come back for the second year. He just makes winning plays when he's on the floor. It's been a pleasure to watch. And it's always exciting to see him growing in to the complete player he can be. And the beautiful thing, because of the way this roster is constructed, they don't need hero ball. They don't need one person to dominate the ball or take over, because the whole group is so efficient together. I hope that one was easy enough for you to understand, because now we're going to move on to another one, and it's one I think that we're lacking in most last year at times, is assist percentage. So assist percentage, it's very, very important, and maybe one of the easiest to explain. A lot of people just look at it and say, well, it's the point guard stat. Well, Mark Pope did correct a lot of problem that he had with last year, when Jalen Lowe got hurt. He was the only actual true point guard on the roster. Jasper Johnson struggled in that role as a freshman and ended up transferring out. But remedy was Zoom Diallo, Alex Wilkins, Jerome Morton. Mason Williams is a freshman with a lot of potential there. Zion Hawthorne. These are all high basketball IQ guards. They're guys that are going to make good decisions, that create good shots for teammates. This is a ball movement offense that's moving the ball. The ball moves faster than the defense. It's always one of the rules that I've been taught, and Mark Pope follows that one as well. That's how you break down any defense, no matter what, is you pass the basketball and it moves faster than the defenders can move. If you have good assist percentage players, you're going to make fewer mistakes, which lead to fewer turnovers. And we covered already, you keep that below 14, it's a good day to wear blue. And multiple playmakers can make an offense almost unguardable, which is why Pope's offenses always seem to be elite because he has that point center kind of hub, which you saw in the highlights earlier with Malachi Marino. He is a really, really good passer for a big man, and a lot of good things happen because he made the right play. He saw the defense, he made the pass, a teammate finished, but the assist gave him credit. This is how Kentucky's going to win a ton of basketball games next year with the new guys that were brought in to fill this role of the analytics. And the last two, I'm bundling them together because it fundamentally is the same thing, just on different sides of the court. One, offensive rebounding percentage. How many of our own misses do we get back? The other one, defensive rebounding percentage. How many of their misses do we collect? These are probably the most important two topics of conversation as far as creating extra possessions in a basketball game. Because the hardest shot for a defense to defend is the second shot. A lot of teams usually have really good first shot defense. Now, after the defense is scrambled, after everybody's tried to get the rebound, there might be players not in position to play defense and contest the second shot as well. Same thing with defensive rebounding percentage. You don't want to give those up because the same thing, your defense is going to be scrambling. You can make them miss a shot, but the defensive possession does not end until you have the basketball. And I look at having an elite rebounder kind of like this. If I know I have one player who I can count on to go get the basketball, I don't have to crash the glass with my guards. So we can go ahead and have the guards leak out and start in transition and make the offense even better and quicker before the defense is set. And I know you see the Oscar Tshiebwe highlights, not a current player, obviously, but who better to illustrate the thought of, hey, just get rebounds, get to the glass. But there are a lot of players on this roster that look to be filling that role. Now, the 5 pillars that we've discussed here in the video are just my blueprint, my theory as to how I think this roster was finally constructed, like the big things that Mark Pope really looked at to put it all together. At the end of the day, coaches recruit people, culture, they recruit fit. I mean, there were players that we missed out on, Terrence Stokes famously, and just Rob Wright, who went back to BYU. You know, he didn't get everybody that he initially went after, but I do still think there was a whole ton of intentionality with this roster. That's a great word for it, actually, intentionality. The analytics help me explain why this roster appears to be assembled in a very intentional way, put together to work together as a great unit. Every player protects the ball, they create opportunities for others, or they maximize possessions. So that's kind of the overall thing. And this is going to be a series. I'm going to actually take a deep dive into the individual players after this and discuss why and how that I believe that their roster fit. Those that were brought back, those that were brought in from elsewhere. And our first deep dive is going to be a 6'5" guard from the deep, dark hills of Eastern Kentucky, Harlan's own, number 9, Trent Noah. Now, the 5 pillars that we've discussed here in the video are just my blueprint, my theory as to how I think this roster was finally constructed, like the big things that Mark Pope really looked at to put it all together. At the end of the day, coaches recruit people, culture, they recruit fit. I mean, there were players that we missed out on, Terrence Stokes famously, and just Rob Wright, who went back to BYU. You know, he didn't get everybody that he initially went after, but I do still think there was a whole ton of intentionality with this roster. That's a great word for it, actually, intentionality. The analytics help me explain why this roster appears to be assembled in a very intentional way, put together to work together as a great unit. Every player protects the ball, they create opportunities for others, or they maximize possessions. So that's kind of the overall thing. And this is going to be a series. I'm going to actually take a deep dive into the individual players after this and discuss why and how that I believe that their roster fit. Those that were brought back, those that were brought in from elsewhere. And our first deep dive is going to be a 6'5" guard from the deep, dark hills of Eastern Kentucky, Harlan's own, number 9, Trent Noah.
Free audio post-production by ORtg.com.